Welcome to Our Road to Success, the podcast where we chronicle our journey through this mad roadmap to the American dream. My name is Iggy Kid. I'm a voice actor and writer, currently working semi-professionally freelance. And I'm here with my co-host, Christian Hansen.
Hello there. I am an animator slash artist slash general, just weirdo. I do all sorts of crazy things. So,
Yeah, it pays sometimes.
pays sometimes. Very, God, we will get into this in the podcast. It is going to be one really fun show.
Yeah,
Today.
we're gonna start this first one. They're generally gonna be like a half hour, so longer, shorter, whatever works out. But for this first one, it's gonna go a little bit longer because we're gonna kind of get into more of our backgrounds and things to set the stage for the rest of the show. So I'm a voice actor. I'm working semi-professionally. I haven't gotten any gigs in a while because of some nonsense with a client that kind of messed things up for me for a while, but I'm getting back into it slowly. I've been voice acting since 2012. I've been writing for a long time. I haven't done anything with that freelance yet, but I'm looking into it, and I'm hoping to get some things. And there is a project that we'll talk about in a little while that I'm writing on, and I'm pretty excited for that. I need to put more work into it, but I'll get around to it.
Is it my turn to introduce myself?
It is.
Okay, cool. So, yes, my name's Christian. Like I already said, I'm an animator and stuff like that. I'm trying to right now focus on creating like a fully fledged animation channel on YouTube. Except unlike most animation channels that upload like every once in a blue moon, I'm trying to get like actual quality animation every day of the week, which is it's already a pain in the butt. Can I swear on this podcast if you don't mind?
I mean, go for it. It's the internet. Who cares?
You know what? Fuck it. It's a total pain in the ass, and it requires a lot of a lot of thought, a lot of planning.
Oh, yeah.
And I've told myself, we're going to have this thing done by the end of the year. And, starting day one of 2017, it's going to be out there, and I'm going to rock it. And there's less than 3 months left in 2016, and I don't have shit together. It is going to be a mad dash for me. Outside of that, I have done some actual professional animation work. I've done some commercials and stuff for people. I've done some promotional stuff. I've had instances where I've actually been offered work on like actual TV shows and shit. I just don't do it because I'm not like most animators. In my case, it's like I'm not really into animation itself. I'm more into like the stories and reasoning as to like why they exist and stuff like that. And by that, I'm not going to make money. I'm talking about just act. I want to make animation that like actually inspires people and like just does more than what you typically see them do, which is just comedy and quick money.
Yeah,
So,
you're an artist. You want to actually have some purpose to your work.
Absolutely. And it's like the big issue for me is it doesn't matter if it's like internet animation or like TV animation or even film animation. Like so much of it is just, I don't want to say trash because it's not really trash, but it's just like, it's not the kind of thing that I want to do.
Oh, totally.
So,
I mean, I was watching I was on like a Batman binge the other day, and I was watching some of the like animated specials that they made, and I know The Killing Joke is an amazing comic, but the animation they made for it is just like the same garbage outsourced like just cheapo animation that they do for every direct-to-DVD video, and it was so disappointing.
Yeah, I never actually saw The Killing Joke, but like I remember looking at the trailers of it, and I was thinking to myself like, this looks so. It doesn't look like it's doing the comic justice. It really doesn't. The animation's really choppy. The from what I saw, like the actual like cinematography. It sounds so weird to say cinematography and animation, but like I guess angles would be a better term here. Like they looked really flat. It didn't look good.
It was
and
just undynamic and underwhelming.
Absolutely, and I love the comic. I fucking love the comic it's based off of, and I couldn't bring myself to see the movie of it.
Yeah, it's good. Like, it's a really good adaptation of that, but it's just, the animation is nothing special, and I feel like for something that's such an iconic story within that universe, it needs to be something special.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely.
So, I don't know if you said, how long have you been animating?
To be honest with you, I've actually been animating since I was in elementary school. It wasn't until I was like 18 years old that I actually decided to like take it seriously as a career thing. I'm currently 22. But you know, for me personally, it's I remember like just leaving the theater for the movie Spirited Away, and I was like, oh my god, I want to do that. 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 And luckily, my brother's computer had a copy of Flash installed on it.
Nice.
So I would get on there and I would make these like really stupid, you know, like God, like stick figure cartoons and stuff like that. Like the kind of stuff you'd see in some program called like Pivot stick figure animation, except not in Pivot, and also like in 2001, 2002, I think, like pre-YouTube. Newgrounds existed, but I didn't know Newgrounds existed. So
Yeah.
just
I mean,
really
most people didn't at
primitive
that
stuff.
point.
So that's kind of what I'm doing. And you know, what got me into it is actually I was in college. I was studying education, and you know, I wanted to figure out what it was that was wrong with the American education system. And what I ended up finding out is it's not really necessarily the system itself that's wrong. There's a lot of things wrong with the American education system, but it's not really that as much as it's just American culture that's really just not enabling them to. Sorry, not enabling is the wrong word. That's just the issue here. We're one of the only few countries that will like actually erect schools specifically so that we can like erect stadiums next to them that are like 4 times the size of the school.
Yeah, it's just it feels like all the priorities are just way off with that.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I've talked with my friend who's like an ex like substitute second grade teacher, and even he has said like literally there's just so much red tape. Like there's so many things you'd want to do, but you're just literally legally not allowed to. And it's depressing.
That too. And it's even if we were to like you know, like try and get change, the thing is like most people, as sad as it sounds, they really don't give a shit. Like they do not give a fuck about the education system that we have. I apologize if I'm stuttering. I'm cracked up on like 5 energy drinks right now. Super stressful day. We will get into that later. But it's just like there's so much out there. It's like, you know, right now I'm trying to think of like a good example of like a law that was actually changed because our culture just did not like it. And what's coming to mind is actually like SOPA and stuff like that. That was about to pass, and then, you know, people like pretty much every internet user on the planet realized this is terrible. They all called in.
Oh yeah, honestly, any tech bill at all is going to be like that because it's no politician actually understands the internet, and the ones who do don't go anywhere because that's all they understand is the internet.
Yep, pretty much. Now, if we're to go back in this education and stuff like that, we're never going to see that because just we don't really value education in our society. I mean, we kind of sort of do, but...
Well, we do, but in the wrong way. It's like...
Yeah.
A job will care if you have a degree, but they won't really care if what you actually learned at all or how well you were doing to get that degree.
Absolutely.
All they care about is that you have it. You have that piece of paper that shows, yes, you did this thing, that most of them don't even understand what it actually means.
Absolutely. So to get back to, you know, why I became an animator, the reason, like, why I dropped out is because I figured, you know, like, if I could just go to college and get a degree, that's not going to change shit. You know, what's the biggest issue with our culture? Sorry, not our culture, our thing. It's our culture. How do we change our culture? Well, entertainment's a big, good thing to do it with. And I was like, you know, I do a lot of animation and stuff. Let's kind of as like hobby animation. Let's just go ahead and do this. I had a couple paid gigs, and then I ended up working on a project with, you know, our host here, and that's actually how we met.
Oh yeah, we will get into that in the future.
Yes,
many
that
times.
is going
many
to be
times.
A fun thing because we both cannot shut up about it.
It's such a long thing, and like I don't even want to give it the justice of naming it, but in interest of, and this is like going to be the conceit of this podcast, in interest of full transparency, like our books are totally open, we're not going to keep any secrets here. It was a My Little Pony film, quote unquote film.
Right when you say it.
Oh my god, this guy who set it up, he's one of those guys who can get people really rallied up and get them excited about something, but he doesn't know anything about what he was actually doing, and everything about it was just such a mess. We went into it, it was 2.5 years before I even realized, oh, we don't have a script, and I started writing on it, and I just couldn't bring myself to... I tried so hard to make it work, but it just would not work.
It was funny because it's like, it's on my end. I remember getting into it, and like I was like, yeah, sweet, we're gonna do this thing, and it's gonna be like sponsored by Hasbro or whatever it was. Like we were promised it was sponsored by Hasbro.
If not sponsored, at least like they were giving us a legal blind eye.
So what ended up happening is I was like, sweet, we're gonna do this, and then because he promised me like work in some studio that was gonna do the exact same things like I said I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, it's gonna be so cool. I'm gonna spend every waking hour of my life doing this, and I did. And he didn't pay a cent. So I'm living in my mother's basement, and I'm just pretty much in the basement all flipping day. And my parents
he
are
couldn't
beginning to
even
like
afford to pay himself, honestly. Like he just had no money, he had no prospects for life.
yeah.
This was his one shot at anything, and he just didn't know what the hell he was doing.
The director of this was just ridiculous. And it's, what happened with me is I eventually like went completely insane working on it, and actually like went to go kill myself when I realized like this isn't working out. And it's like it's just, god damn, fuck, that was a terrible idea. Fuck, but I kind of don't to be honest with you, I don't really regret making the decision to work on it in the long run, because like
honestly
you just learn so much. Doing something stupid like this.
Oh yeah, it was a great life experience, and honestly, like if it weren't for that and like how
I wouldn't say it's a great life experience.
I wouldn't say it was great, but I feel like it was a very potent. Like there was a lot to be learned from it, and I mean, if it wasn't for how supportive they all were, like everybody was very supportive of each other, even if they weren't supportive in any kind of financial way, but they were very like emotionally supportive, and they actually gave me the confidence to actually continue as voice acting, because that's pretty much where I was. Is I had just started it, and I got the opportunity to be on that, and I was on it, and I was like, this is, I had a lot of confidence imbued in me from that, and it is honestly what in the end gave me the confidence to leave it and shut it down, because it needed to be.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened with me. You see, in my case, because I was an animator on it, the animation director claimed she worked for Disney or something for the longest time, and a Twitter job or something. Yeah. The thing is she never would say she worked at Disneyland. She would always like make it out and make it sound like she was like a Disney animator.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like 2 or 3 weeks before I quit the full thing that I was like, that like someone finally explained that to me, and I was like, oh god, Jesus fucking Christ, what have I done with my life?
I mean, but it was just everything in that was all just dishonesty, lack of communication, everything. Yeah, it was. Honestly, if I learned anything from that, it's just the exact opposite way to run it. I learned so much about like how you should not do things at all, and
I agree with you there. There's like so much. The biggest issue is that something that I learned from it is that you have professional artists, and then you have professional artists is not the right thing. You have people who are actually going to do something, and then you have people who want to do something. Everyone wants to do something. Like, I want to go out and like run for president. I want to go out and like make $1 million. I want to go out and climb, like fucking Mount Fuji or some shit.
Be friggin' prime cellist in the Philharmonic Orchestra, like whatever.
Everyone wants to do something. Not many people are actually going to do them.
Yeah,
and the issue with something like this is, you're filling it with, because this was, like they promised me at some point money would be on the table. They also promised me that this thing was going to be sold as a DVD, but like what you discover is, because it's like 99% volunteer base, actually it's 100% volunteer base, is that it's like you're filling like an entire group with people who want to do something, not people who actually are going to do something. I discovered this several times, because there have been so many times in there where like I'd be working on a project completely unrelated just because the director told me to do it, and no one in that group would want to do anything but me.
Exactly.
So there were several times where, like, months at a time, I'd just be working my ass off on, like...
I
you
think
know,
the main thing we learned from it is that you should never accept a project for the promise of future pay for free work
oh,
now.
absolutely,
Because
absolutely.
that's
I mean,
honestly looking at like every audition for a voiceover project, you can tell the ones that are going to be garbage and the person has no idea what they're doing and it's never going to actually get finished when they say, we will pay you in the future. Like if they say like, oh, if this makes money, it's like it should go without saying that if it makes money, you will pay the people who are in it. If you have to say that, you're just trying to entice people into being part of your project that's garbage. So there's really not much more to say there. You should, if you see that, avoid it. That's not a good project. Guarantee. I don't care how enticing it may look. If they're saying that, they are. It's not going to be worth your time.
what if they actually like provide, like a legitimate reason, as like say like a deferred payment, and like you actually like sign like a contract or something saying that they will pay you at like this date?
Oh yeah, if they have an actual business plan and an actual like funding, like they actually understand like, okay, we'll be able to get money in through this and this. We cannot pay you yet, but there will be funding in the future, and it's like guaranteed. It's actually projected. Yes, if it's just we'll pay you when we make money, it's like no.
Oh, guys, we'll pay you when we make money in 30 years or so.
Yeah. Whenever this movie gets made, when we have one animator who actually cares enough to actually do anything.
I remember that. Oh man, I never actually thought of it like that.
Yeah,
so
but we can.
That's kind of how we met. I don't know. Should we talk about what we did immediately after that, or?
Well, for now, I think we should move along in our list here, and we'll get around to that in the next section here. But for now, we're gonna say, while we are artists, every artist, or well, I say artist, but that's all the cliches come to mind. But
subjective.
I'd say creatives, people who want to create things and have a non-traditional sort of thing like that. Like, we are creatives, and every creative has weaknesses, so we're going to kind of touch up every week on how we're trying to overcome our weaknesses. My biggest weaknesses as a creative are motivation, just like getting myself to actually do the things that I want to do, because I know I want to do them, and when I'm doing them, I'm having a great time, but getting myself going and getting that momentum going is my biggest weakness. And coupled in with that is time management, just like making sure that I'm actually going to make it to the deadline and understanding I need to get this amount done, spread out over this, or I need to get, this much or that much. Just actually being able to get the work done when I need to do it. It's just
that's
difficult
that's
to me.
actually like common with so many artists and stuff like that. I could go in and talk about my issues and stuff like that, but I think I'm going to throw out some tips, right? So something I was actually reading about. You mentioned time management stuff, right?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know why I asked. You just totally just did. I'm an idiot. There's actually a really good book you should read. It's called Unmistakable, and it's done by this guy whose name's Srini Rao. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to spell it. It's Indian, but like one of the interesting things he like actually makes a statement about in the book is just time management. And one of the things he said that like finally got him to like just focus his time is he would literally plan out, like he'd get a planner and he'd plan out his entire day. And that sounds common, like you plan out your entire day. What's the big deal? Thing is like he'd block it out in such a way, like at this hour I'm doing this, at this hour I'm doing this, and he'd block it out to the exact freaking minutes. And if a project or something went like overboard, like unless it was required, like it had to be done that particular day, which if it was, he'd block it out in a way that he could work on it. He would pretty much just immediately go on to something else. And what blows me away is like he even had time dedicated to like the exact times he'd eat, the exact times he'd finish his meal, to times where like he would intentionally like slack off and like browse the internet or do something just stupid. And it worked so well for him. And I have an issue with time management myself. I have an extreme issue with time management. I spent the entire freaking week this week like wasting my time on one stupid thing. And the second thing that Srini Rao says in his book Unmistakable to do that like works really well with time management is set a timer. And like if you don't finish your project in this like amount of time, punish yourself. Find somebody to punish yourself. Like pretend like it has to be done at that date, or else like you're fucked. Pretty much. I found that out this week. like I found this out this week where I was working on something all freaking week. Like my time management was really bad. And then I set a timer for myself and I'm like, all right, so I'm going to do 20 minutes. And if it's not finished, you know, like, yeah, you're right. Like Donald Trump, you're fired. And it's like,
I'll be honest, I was
more,
thinking more Mr. McMahon from WWE.
You know what? You know what? They're both rivals or some shit. So
That's
it's all
true.
good.
I remember nobody's really talking about this, but the WWE a few years back, it was like Mr. McMahon. It was like they staked it on a fight that either McMahon or Trump, whoever won in the fight between these two wrestlers, whoever won, the other guy would have to shave their head, and Trump lost. So there's footage of John Cena shaving Trump's head.
No, it's Vince McMahon's hair that got shaved.
Shit, was it? Damn.
Yeah, I know this because like I watched that whole thing and I was wanting Trump to like get his hair shaved, and he did it. He didn't get his hair shaved, and then he had to shave Vince McMahon's hair. Also,
Shit.
Donald Trump jumped on Vince McMahon and started beating the living shit out of him like right outside the ring.
Possible president, everybody.
I know, exactly. Like, I don't want him to be president, but, like, I kind of sort of don't want to live in a world where he's not running for president.
I mean, he ran back in the 90s. He was part of the 2000 election that Bush ended up winning.
Yeah, I know. Like, he keeps doing this thing where, like, he'll, like, run and then he'll, like, drop out. And this is, like, the first election he's done where, like, he's actually, like, stayed in it.
I mean, it's probably the only one he's made enough headway where it's actually possible, and I feel that, like, the internet kind of helped that quite a bit. And then
Oh, absolutely.
Even then, it's like, I'm hoping that he loses this, because he's only got a couple more of them in him. The dude is 70. He turned 70 this year. I don't think he's going to be able to run for president very many more times.
He's a billionaire. I'm sure he's going to find some way to make Robot Trump
Damn it.
live forever. Yeah, can you imagine that in like the 2025 elections, just like Mecha Trump running around?
Honestly, I'd be kind of okay with Mecha Trump. I'm not okay with Meat Trump, but Mecha Trump.
Mecha
that
Trump.
might be okay.
That would actually be terrifying. Although if it's Mecha Trump, you know, no, I was gonna say like because if it's Mecha Trump, then we have like Mecha Hillary. And if like Mecha Trump gets elected, Mecha Hillary can just use like a laser and destroy his wall.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that would be an interesting election. But you know, so I guess to go back on the subject of time management, because we are wasting so much time talking about Mecha Trump and Mecha Hillary.
Don't worry. It's a podcast. People expect you to go on
Mecha Hillary
tangents.
2025, by the way. I think that talking about time management. My other issue I personally have is also kind of sort of motivation, and it's because like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, I'm in like a mad like rush to get things finished. Like for me personally, in order to be able to pull off an animation channel that has at least like one video a day, and because of the fact that I want to actually rank it well with the YouTube algorithm, I want to make sure that, you know, these videos are at least 15 minutes or longer. You know, I'm obviously going to pull some strings here. Instead of like 2D animation like you see on most things, it's going to be 3D. It's also going to be motion captured.
What you should look at,
something
you should look at is Max Gilardi, Hot Diggity Demon. He started doing something for his Patreon called Brain Dump, and it's basically just like movie rants, but they are fully animated in 3D, and he does one a week, and you can kind of tell, like, I don't have the full animator's eye to see all the tricks he pulls, but I can tell they're like real specific tricks that he uses to be able to crank it out while still having quality animation.
Yeah, you know, like the cool thing about 3D animation or 2D animation is you can do like a lot more tricks with 3D. Like you can recycle footage and people usually won't notice. You can also like apply like effects and stuff like that thing going. Also, another thing you could do with 3D animation is you could like literally swap, you know, like models and stuff like that and have it still work versus, you know, 2D animation where like if you want to have a character doing the exact same thing, you have to like animate it from the beginning to the very end. This is one of the reasons why you see so much 3D animation these days versus 2D, just because it's so much faster and time consuming. The thing is with me though is I want to make sure it looks 2D just because of the fact that like I'm not opposed to the 3D look, but I love like how slick and just how expressive and stuff 2D looks. So something I'm looking for, like I'm trying to figure if I should talk about, like why I'm in a mad rush, but I'll just talk about this really quickly. So something I'm doing is I'm going to be doing like a lot of cell shading, except as opposed to just like throwing like a cell shader on it. Something I've actually been working on is a program that will like actually, take like the meshes and stuff, the colors, normals. I'm going to see if I can use terms that non-animators know. Pretty much just like use the colors and stuff, and as opposed to like making it look like traditional cell shading, there's just like a line around a character. Actually like just make it look like it's hand drawn, because the thing is hand drawn animation, it's going to be imperfect, and that's what makes
absolutely.
it look 2D. 3D animation is always perfect, and that's what makes it look 3D.
I mean, it's the same with like Flash, like puppet animation, is that no matter what, it's always going to look kind of like, I guess, soulless, because there's no fluidity to it. It's just all kind of,
pretty much.
No matter how in depth you get, it's always going to have a stiffness to it.
Pretty much. So I've been working on like ways to pretty much just screw with the colors and stuff like that and make it like imperfect so it looks 2D. Now, the reason why this is a mad dash is because for this to work, even if it's going to be motion capture, if it's going to be 3D, one video a day, I'm going to need some team members.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also going to need, because like we talked earlier, Iggy here was like, I don't, never sign up for a project where they're just promising pay. I don't want to end up that way, because I spent it was pretty much just like a year and a half working on that stupid project that we talked about earlier without pay.
Right.
End of discussion. If you're an artist, like, you deserve money. Like, you just straight up deserve it.
Exposure is a goddamn joke.
It totally is a joke. It really is a freaking joke.
If you want, exposure is like something that like if you're in a negotiation and you feel that having that project will give you exposure, that means you're willing to accept a lower payment. That shouldn't be that you're willing to do it for free. Anybody who does that thinks that you're an idiot, and they're hoping that you'll fall for it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one thing if you're going to be like, say on YouTube or something, and like a YouTuber. And by YouTuber, I don't mean, like the kind of stuff like, just more like vlogging type things. Like you give like a shout out to someone for free. That's different because it's just a lot easier to do than full animation. But if you're like an animator or like any artist that's doing something that takes a long ass amount of time and you're not getting paid for it, what's going to happen is that you're going to have to work like a regular job in order to pay the bills. And then you're not going to have the time. Not only you're not going to have time to do it, but like this times you probably do over the time, you're also going to have to deal with your family and stuff like that. And you're probably the only times you're going to be able to do it are probably times you're going to be insanely stressed out, and you're not going to want to do it. And then the quality of work that you're going to be able to put out is just not going to be worth it. And then when you put out when you put out work that's not quality, it looks bad on you. And it's not worth it. It is not worth it. Do not do it.
Your art will suffer, and that's pretty much
jobs that do it.
That's pretty much it. And I'll talk about it later on, but I'm actually going to be hopefully in a situation where I don't have to worry about that as much. But we'll talk about that closer to the end. So we could go on and on about this for ages, but we should move on to our financial situation now. Again, transparency, and we're going to say. We're talking numbers here. We're going to explain anything that's not under NDA, we will be revealing here. So, let's explain why we're discussing numbers really quick. It's mainly transparency. It's to give you an idea of where we're at and what we're actually doing. And it's not meant to brag, because you will see there's nothing to brag about with our financial situation at all.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the thing is, and this is just a culture in America, at least, where you're not supposed to talk about how much you make at all, ever, because for some reason people think, oh, it's rude because it's like bragging. But the thing is, keeping it secret gives power to the person paying you, and it takes power away from you, because then you have no idea what to expect. And that's the big thing, is like, I had no idea what I should look at for numbers looking into voiceover, because nobody would talk about them. And I finally found someone, Bill DeWeese, who's a great voice actor and a great businessman, who you can find him on YouTube, Bill DeWeese, just right there, and he does great stuff. This podcast itself is pretty heavily inspired by his VO Weekly podcast, where he does the same thing, and he just says the numbers straight out, because then you know, hey, this is how much you should be looking to make, and you shouldn't be accepting less than this. If you hear someone talking about how much they're paying, you shouldn't get mad at them, you should get mad at the person who's paying you for not giving you that much, because you deserve that much.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree there. And like, it's it's a little bit different for me because in my case, like I'm trying to like actually pay people, but you know, it's just unfortunately, the sad truth is that especially in a field like, you know, art or entertainment stuff like that, there are going to be people out there who just want to screw you over and just want to use you.
Oh,
Just want to
yeah.
use you as like a tool, and just they don't care about you. They don't care about your livelihood. They just want to like use you because, you know, you're free labor. Yeah, sure. Yeah, hi, you'll get exposure. You know, here's like a little description in the here's like a little link in the description and stuff like that. Like God, even
Also,
like
the people who offer exposure are never the people who have exposure you want, anyways, because they're never big enough or like reputed enough to actually have anybody actually care whether or not you're in it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was about to go off topic and talk about, you know, like some of these YouTube drama channels where, like, you know, a lot of times they'll promise exposure if they like do something either free or do something horrible, and it's just like it's not the kind of
Oh God, yeah. The worst
exposure you
thing
want.
recently, I don't know if you know anything about I love Kim Possible a lot. Do you know her at all?
I know that there's this like 25-year-old like man-child virgin who hates her like crazy.
I mean, I can tell you right now, it's a lot of drama. I won't get super into it, but if you want to look it up, I love Kim Possible a lot. Basically, she's a vlogger. She does like episode reviews of My Little Pony, and she's always like a community guest. She always like begs them to actually pay for her flight and her hotel, and she doesn't really do anything all that interesting as far as I can tell. Like, I don't know who the hell she is. I've never watched any of her videos. But apparently, not only does she, like, have other people edit for her, she makes them sign a contract forcing them to do things specifically. She says never to ask for pay. There's no guarantee that they'll even get to talk to her specifically. So she acts like she's this big talent that on this big team, like it's fucking Team Timberlake or something. It's like, what the fuck? She treats people like shit, and she's like, you don't get compensation, but I get compensation. I'm popular. And it's like, no, you're not, and you're losing popularity because of this, and it's bullshit. I fucking hate her. She's a piece of shit. On that note, though, it would actually make volunteer projects so much nicer if you could make things like that, because nobody wants to do the work on those. So if you could do a contract to force people to actually do work if they're volunteering for you, that would be nice.
Yeah,
but there's
that wouldn't necessarily be volunteer work. That'd be like slave labor, pretty much.
I mean, yeah, the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of people going onto volunteer projects come onto them with the wrong expectations and they think that they can slack off, and it'll never get done that way. So stuff like that can be useful, but the thing is, it's so unethical to expect so much from someone when they are a volunteer. That's how I've dealt with conventions like that. I was video editor for Everfree Northwest, and I'm not a professional video editor in any way. I barely knew how to use any video editing program when I came onto that, but like they expected like really high quality from me, and it's like, guys, if you pay me, I might be able to handle this, because then I could quit my job and just focus on it entirely, but I can't just, I'm not in a position to do this. That's pretty much your thing about you have to pay people to actually get quality.
You know, like I get a feeling I'm gonna regret talking about this guy, because apparently, like, he spends like hours on end just like searching the internet, and like if he finds somebody talk shit about him, he like makes a video and then sends his like army of like little kids to go harass them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mentioned YouTube drama, and you mentioned that, you know, that one girl, she like, I love Kim Possible, whatever, that she like doesn't, you know, pay her people. She makes them sign a contract and stuff like
Yeah.
that. There's a kind of sort of popular YouTuber. His name's Leafy is here. He has like a little bit under 5 million subscribers. He makes these roasting videos where like he'll just find someone online and complain about him. Recently, the animator who does the animations and stuff for this kid's channel, and also intros and stuff like that, made a video exposing him for pretty much all he was doing is, you know, Leafy got in contact with me. It's like, hey, can you do the animator for this? I'll give you exposure and stuff like that. And he's like, sure, I will. And this guy spent like hours upon hours like doing the animations and stuff for this channel, and he never got any exposure. Like, period.
Did they not
And then,
credit him?
You know, they didn't credit him at all. He
Yeah,
didn't credit
no,
him at all.
exactly. That's literally, if you're saying exposure, literally all you're offering is a credit.
Here's the worst. Here's what makes this thing like so stunning to me. And like I know for a fact, like probably what's going to happen after this podcast goes live, because like, oh my gosh, he said something bad about me, I'm going to roast him. I'm going to like wake up and like find like protesters outside my house or some stupid shit like that. Is like, what makes this so bad is this guy went up to him and he was like, look, you know, you're not getting exposure. What the fuck? And then Leafy's like, well, okay, I can pay you. And the guy's like, all right, sure, fine. You know, I've done like hours upon hours of work. You know, how much are you going to do? $20.
Are you fucking serious?
To make it worse, at the time that this happened, this kid who said he was going to pay it, the YouTuber kid, Leafy, he had at least $700,000 in the bank.
Jesus
At least
Christ.
that much money.
Yeah, but I can't believe people like this. It basically comes down to never do anything for exposure and always negotiate pay, and when you do, make sure there's a contract, a paper trail, so that you can show that they agreed to that.
Absolutely.
Even if you take
absolutely.
something for exposure, like I strongly suggest against it, but if you feel that the situation is right, make sure it's in writing so that if they don't credit you, you have a way to retaliate against them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So anyway, to go on with our podcast, because we're going to talk about our bank accounts, I guess I'll start off.
Yeah,
because,
go for it.
This is going to be the most painful part of the podcast, because if you heard me, you know, I mentioned the fact that I need money in order to like pay people and stuff like that. I have a plan to get money, but I'm going to be honest with you. The amount of money I have in my bank account right now, $10. And if I don't do something after this podcast, it's probably going to be like negative $90.
Jeez.
Yeah,
$10
I know.
even? Because we're going by the cent here.
Yeah, I believe $10 even. And then I think I have like 2 cents in my PayPal right now. I have like
Because you can put
quarters.
You want to
scattered
wait
all
3
across my
business
room.
days for that to transfer to your bank account? 2 cents.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I would
also,
love
I
to
should
do
point
that.
out something for a business side, just because tech-wise, PayPal kind of sucks because you have to wait those business days for it to actually transfer to your bank. If you look up Square Cash, the app for actually, you know, Square, the like little phone credit card reader, if you get just the app, you can send it to other people with the app money instantly. They take like, I think, 1% of the money. Like, it's if you send somebody $50, they take 50 cents. And that's it.
Do
and
they?
It's if you want it the next day, it's free. If you want it instantly, it's 50 cents. And it'll just go right into your bank account. It's right there.
I'll have to actually look into that.
Oh yeah, I use it all the like if you're in a relationship but you don't share a bank account like I am, it's really, really convenient. Like Square Cash, it works so much better than PayPal.
It sounds almost as if this is like a sponsored advertisement when you're saying it.
I mean a little bit, but I'm not getting paid for it. I just really enjoy the thing, which is kind of word of mouth.
Okay, well, as long as it's not paid. So
It's-
otherwise I was going to make you disclose it on this freaking podcast.
Yeah. So, anyways, I have $400,000 in my bank account. I don't know what's wrong
God
with you.
damn it.
No. If to get into my actual bank account, I have $190.39. I was paid this last Thursday. So bills, yeah. I'm also
Fun.
I have negative $15 in my savings account, but there's no overdraft fees there, so I'm not even bothering to put money in there. I mean, it's probably in the long run it'd be good to build up some interest, but like I don't feel like paying Bank of America $15 to let me just have money. Bank fees are just the worst. I hate them so much.
You see, the thing is with so many of these, like, you know, like you got to interest rate stuff like that is like, you know, they advertise it, but like unless you have like a lot of money in there, the interest rates just aren't even worth it.
Exactly. You need.
To be honest with you.
I think if you have less than 1,500 in that account, you actually still get the fee. So you're basically losing money.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah,
Pretty
when you make enough money, it's good to have a savings account. And in fact, I heard, I don't know how valid this is because I was hearing it from a guy who's basically just one of the original guys on Twitch. I don't know. He seems to know a lot about business, but I've never really looked into it, and I take a lot of it with a grain of salt. But he said that people he's spoken to who actually make 6 figures tend to actually have a dozen plus bank accounts because it's actually better in the long run to have all of your money spread out over multiple accounts and multiple banks to build up in interest that way. So I don't know the full validity of that because I'm not quite on that level yet, but I definitely want to look into that at some point. Hopefully, when I don't expect, because I know Bill DeWeese and I love him, but he makes like six figures as a voiceover actor, and I'd love to be there, but I'm honestly just looking to make more than I am in my day job so that I can.
Yeah, and that's a decent start. That's a decent
like
start.
he says his goal is $5,000 a week. My goal is going to be like $8,000 a week, and that's like I don't expect to hit that for a couple years at least.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, so
Fair enough.
that's our current financial situations, and
we didn't talk about. Well, I don't know. Like, so you mentioned that. I was gonna mention like the way I was gonna make money, or should I just leave that for a future episode? I don't fucking know.
Let's talk about that.
Well, I'll leave that future projects because that's kind of sort of what.
Yeah, that's a little bit. That's a little bit later in the show. So that was our current situation. This show, to break it down, to do a little bit of housekeeping and explain it, we're gonna have our intro. We're gonna have our current situation, which we've just gone through. We're gonna have our week. What was our week like? What did we get done? What are we working on? What kind of money did we bring in this week? I'm guessing not really much anything. And then we'll have our plans, which is what we're going to be doing in the future, what our plans are for the show, what our plans are just in general, and that's where we'll talk about things like that. We'll talk about just things that we have prospectively, what we're trying to... the irons that we got going into the fire, not so much what's already there. And then we'll keep it at that. But for right now, let's move on to what our week was like, and we'll start by saying what our current projects are and what the status of those projects are. First one is one that we're both on, which came as a result of that My Little Pony project we were talking about, which is Stable Tech, the Fallout Equestria animated series studio. And
I'm only like I've never, to be honest with you, I've never actually read the thing this is based off of.
I've tried like 5 times. It's garbage.
I'm
sorry if you like Fallout Equestria. I'm not saying you're garbage. I'm saying that a little bit, but I'm saying that what you like is garbage, because that thing sucks.
I'm going to make a bit of a joke here. If they actually read that and they actually full on enjoy it, I really doubt they're going to be listening to this podcast, because this has nothing to do with pastel horses.
Probably not. Like, I don't know, it's such a bad combination to me, because it's like, one is really dark and quirky, one is really happy and bright. Putting them together just makes this muddled gray mess of just like nothing that interesting. And
yeah, kind of. That's how I feel.
Stable Tech itself, I came on, it started in 2013. This one guy decided to make this series, and he got a bunch of people together. Another thing to avoid, if you see a project and you see that they're getting a ton of people together, you need to ask what their plan is. If they are doing that and they don't even have a script, like that big project we had and like this, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry, because I understand as a creative. I've done this before too when I was much younger. You get really excited. You have an idea for a project and you decide, I'm going to get people together and get it going. But then if you do that, it gives you a lot less motivation to actually make it happen. So you have to have as much completed that you can do on your own before you bring other people in. In fact, do as much as you can completely on your own and only bring people in when it's absolutely necessary.
I'm totally with you there. You see, the biggest issue with this group is that, like I mentioned earlier before, that there are people who want to do things versus people who are going to do things. And the thing is the guy who did this, he wasn't going to do it. He's a person who wanted to do it. So you got like a bunch of people on there who want to do it.
Right. It's the same as a restaurant that somebody opens because it's a restaurant they think would be cool to eat at, but they don't actually want to run a restaurant.
No, you see, and the biggest issue with this, though, is like, I kind of became the animation director on this thing. It's earlier this year, kind of out of desperation, to be honest with you, because they had like absolutely no one there to monitor or record or anything like that.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it was me or someone else, but at some point the chain came back that I basically got you into this project because I was the one who was talking about it in the other project. So I don't know if that directly got you to be a part of it or if something else.
I don't even care, because it's like what happened is like earlier in the year, this was in like I think like February this year, to be honest with you, I was added kind of as an inspiration. It was like, well, our animation director wasn't doing anything and we need someone to do it. And I looked at it and I said, you know what? we can do this. We can do this. We can easily do this. But then what I ended up finding out is that most of the animators here either aren't responding or they just don't know how to animate, like, at all. And so I told myself, like, okay, well, you know, we could still get episode 1 done. We just have to add some people in here, and this could be done. This was in like March when I said this. I said it could be done at the end of spring. The issue is I had a huge, like, just, like, you know, ever since the end of that one project that, you know, me and him, we first worked on, like, I've been seriously struggling with, like, depression and suicide and stuff like that. And on top of that, I was in, like, a really crappy situation with a girl that was crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like, it went from spring, and then it went to the end of summer, and now it's to the end of winter, and I've actually told, you know, our host here that, you know, like, hey, if this thing's not finished, like, I want to have, I think, like, $10,000 drained from my bank account.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
No,
you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it, or I'm coming over to your place, and I'm fucking cheating your ass to the computer.
You know, to be honest with you, I'm not, like, terribly opposed to it. I don't think it's terrible. But, you see, the thing that's just been stressing me out is the fact that it's just, you know, for me to have had it done, like I said, I would have had to not be depressed and stuff like that. Now, what ended up happening in my life, though, is, like, I ended up going to a psych ward earlier in the year, and it sucked. It was terrible. Like, being trapped and, like, not being able to just see anyone or talk to anyone. I wasn't even in a state that, like, I really knew that well. Like, this was in fucking Delaware. I live in Maryland. It sucked ass, but it worked. It helped me out so much. And then when I finally get out of there, I go to my therapist and stuff like that. And, you know, like, for the first time in years, I'm able to just actually, like, function and stuff without, you know, feeling like, oh my God, I'm a piece of shit. I need to go kill myself. It's just, I need to manage my time better.
Exactly.
That's my biggest issue.
I mean, same. So that's pretty much everyone who isn't actually making stuff. That's their big problem.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what I'm trying to do right now with that thing is where I'm trying to get, like, a lot more volunteers and stuff involved. I could easily make some cash and pay them. I'll get more into, like, how I'm going to make cash later with more future projects. But it's just, like, I've been very reluctant to do it, partially because up until recently I've been, like, a depressed piece of shit, and I'm like, oh, I can't do anything. Also because of the fact that very few people in this, like, have gotten, like, an adequate amount of money, if anything at all, and it would just cause some really bizarre tension, and I don't really want to do that. Now, that said, after the first episode's finished, I'm 50% going to leave, 50% going to stay. I don't know. It depends on how it goes, but
I mean, the only reason, honestly, the only reason I haven't left is because I think they forgot I was there. Because I haven't done anything on that thing in, like, 2 years.
Dude, they have so many people they forgot who were there. Like, this thing, it's been organized like just an absolute mess. And not only has it been organized like an absolute mess, but, like, a lot of the people involved, like I mentioned before, the people who want to do things, there's people who, like, actually will do things. A lot of people who want to do things, they want to do things because their life is, like, already really bad and terrible. So, I mean, to give you an example of, like, what exactly happened when I first got back on the team, in, was it, like, February, I think it was. Like, I actually got on, and then this one person, like, texts me. He says, "You're a fucking piece of shit. I'm gonna fuck you up the ass so hard."
Oh.
And I was like, wow, this is a fantastic team we got going here. Now, luckily, in recent weeks, there's been some reorganization and stuff like that, which is needed. And it's just, like, I'm just going to focus on getting it done because it's really not that hard to get done. You just have to have, like, some people who are actually going to be able to work on it, and just move on from there. So to go on to my other projects before, we talk about other ones, I mentioned ways to make money. So in the 2 years that I spent being, like, insanely depressed, like, I've read every damn book I can get. I've watched every business movie. I've looked at people who, like, business people. Like, this is going to sound egotistical as hell, but, like, I know how to sell a freaking product. In fact, like, if you want an example of something recent that I did that, like, I think just proved to me that I can do it, like, I had a friend of mine who dragged me into, like, phone banking for Hillary Clinton a couple weeks ago. And the first call that I got was this person who's like, why the fuck would I vote for Hillary? She's a fucking liar. I'm voting for Trump. Fuck you, kind of thing. Yeah. And you want to know what I did? I convinced this, like, horribly racist, like, overtly, like anti-democrat, like just person to vote for Clinton.
Damn.
Because the number one thing that people forget to realize is, like, when you're selling a product, it's not about the product, it's about the person you're selling it to. You got to be able to, like, actually know your customer and be able to do this. And the number one way to do this is to just actually, learn what's going on through their thing. So in my case, when I did this, actually, you know what, that's irrelevant. So pretty much with that said, like, I'm 99%, no, I'm like 150% certain that, like, I can just call people up and sell products, stuff like that. And since I've been reading about business and stuff like that, like, I know every goddamn business plan. I've read every goddamn self-help book. Like, I know every self-help, just trick ever written. And it's like, I could easily sell this shit. Like, we live in a world where everything's for sale. Like, if you know something, you could sell it. If you build something, you can sell it.
Capitalism.
Capitalism, exactly. And the coolest thing is we live in a society where if you have, like, an idea, not even like an actual product, but just like an idea or thoughts or something, you can write that down and you can sell it. So, in fact, God, that's what freaking Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street person, did.
Oh yeah, no, that was the thing. Is like
he was in jail.
It doesn't even matter. Like, that's the thing that he tried to point out. Is like, it doesn't really matter what you're selling. It just matters how well you can sell it. Like, even with his "sell you a pen" thing, that's like, you don't need to talk about the pen. You just need to give me a reason to want the pen. It doesn't matter what the pen is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing. Is like, you need to appeal to the person and be like, you need this. Not, this is really cool, wouldn't you want one? It's like, you need this thing.
Absolutely. So it's like, I could easily, like, just sell, like, the thing is, though, because I keep saying I can easily do this, and I've been saying I can easily do this for, like, months on end. I've just never done it.
I mean,
up until recently, it's been depression, and it's been, like, every day I wake up, I want to kill myself. Recently now, though, it's just been more like time management, and that's changing this week.
Exactly.
Like, end of this. No, that's changing today. Fuck it, because next week, tomorrow's Sunday.
I think just saying tomorrow or next anything is kind of the death of any kind of plan. It's just like, say it's happening now, unless it literally cannot. Like, if you're in the hospital and, like, your hands don't work.
Absolutely.
But, like, so, to move on, the other thing that we're working on is Hunter's Moon, which is kind of trying to bring something out of that one project that we met on.
Oh, yes.
And this is more on my side right now, but basically we're working on it. It's going to be a feature-length animated sci-fi film, and I'm really excited for it. Like, it's taking the tiny good bits of that project and actually making something pretty decent from it. And I've been working on the screenplay. I planned to be done with the first draft at the end of September. It is now October 8th, and I am about 21 pages into what is projected to be an 80-page screenplay, and there's going to be... Yeah, so I am behind, but I am making progress.
Yes.
And I mean, it's honestly, this is more than we had for the other project at all. Like, we didn't even have, like, 3 pages for that project.
Yeah, like, you see, so what ended up happening is, after that whole project kind of fell apart, there was kind of like a bit of an idea of, like, me and your host here to just, keep it alive somehow. And the first thing we were going to do is we were going to, like, actually, like, pitch it to Hasbro and just get it done like that. But then, kind of what happened is I think we were both like, let's just do something more creative so we have more freedom. And, he was doing his own thing. For the longest time, it's just he was trying to, like, literally take what was literally there of the terrible project we were going on. It just wasn't working at all.
I tried to make it work. I tried to keep as much of the original in it as I could, and it wasn't working.
Yeah,
and
it was...
honestly, what it came down to is we're making a totally different product now, because honestly there was nothing worth saving in the original one. There was, like, tiny little elements which I'm still including, but they're so few and far between that, like, so much of this is completely original from now, and it's a lot more exciting to work on.
It's evolved from, just this really weird, like, just 100% fan servicey piece of trash to something just completely original. And like, it's, even though he's writing a script and stuff like that, I'm doing, like, character designs and stuff like that. And, obviously when the animation comes, I'm probably going to be directing animation and stuff like that. It's just like, I want this to be, like, I think that we want this to be, just fan-fucking-tastic. Like, we were both talking earlier today, before like we did this call about just like some of our issues with like animated movies these days and stuff like that. And we want this to like not be like pretty much any other animated movie. We want this to be something special, something great, something just I can't even describe it in words.
Just
honestly.
something
But,
actually worthwhile, honestly.
yeah, something actually worthwhile, more than just like some dumb thing you go in there because it's for kids and you leave the theater with funny memes.
Yeah, no, we
in your
want this to
face.
actually be something that we can be proud of. And it
Yes, and it is going to be something we can be proud of.
Very definitely. I got to keep working on it. I got to put, I have, and this is kind of lame, I have a physical planner now, like paper on a spiral thing.
Oh, that's not lame. That's
and
fucking awesome.
I got it down, and I'm actually like forcing myself to be better about that. And it's just, I'm definitely going to have the script finished by the end of the year for certain. Like,
yeah, no, that's fucking awesome, man.
It's gonna happen. That's pretty much all we can say
Okay.
about it for now. We're definitely going to talk about it a lot more as things progress, but for now, it's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah.
And the only other project that I had to talk about was The Magic of the Cinema, which is a board game I had an idea for. Basically, I used to work in a movie theater, and anytime something went wrong, it was a mad dash to just try and figure out how can we solve this as fast as possible so the fewest number of people want refunds. And that's what this game is about. Also, you're all wizards. That's what it's about. It's basically you're all people who do magic. You can curse other theaters. You can like disrupt their stuff. You're pulling cards. It's like, oh, the projector's broken. You got to fix that. Every turn is 15 minutes. Every turn you're losing customers until you can get it figured out. It's going to be that kind of stuff. There's still a lot of the crunch that I have to work out. I got a lot of the fluff, but the crunch needs a little more work. But I'm doing that as more of a fun thing, so I have something kind of productive to do when I'm taking breaks from, Hunter's Moon.
Yeah, and that actually sounds fun. Like, I remember you telling me about this, like, maybe a few weeks ago, and as terrible as this sounds, I was like, yeah, okay,
Yeah. I don't blame you.
And then I just went straight back to looking at porn. But, I think that's actually really cool. I'll have to send you some stuff about just, like, running the best possible Kickstarter
Oh,
you can.
totally. I mean,
So that way it's
I'm
successful.
half and half of whether I want to kickstart it, because pretty much every Kickstarter board game is garbage. So I'm going to try and... I may go through Kickstarter... Well, no, I wouldn't want to go... Okay, tangent time. Again, we're going way over on this.
Oh boy, my favorite time.
This is a special thing because this is the first episode. These are going to be much shorter in the future. But yeah, tangent time. Crowdsourcing sites are used badly because there are multiple crowdfunding sites, and nobody understands the specific purpose of them. How it works is Kickstarter, you're supposed to create something that will actually kickstart a business. You're supposed to have a business in mind, and it's supposed to go past that. Unfortunately, most people do it to have one run of a product or one project that they just do for that. That's not what you want Kickstarter for. That's what Indiegogo is for. Indiegogo is where you go if you're planning on it being a one-shot project like a film or a game, and you just want it to be the one thing. If you're planning on actually creating a business from it, go to Kickstarter because it's supposed to kickstart your business. Indiegogo is supposed to make it so that you can make your film or whatever
Absolutely.
project. I just hate this stuff. Then Patreon, you go to Patreon and so many people treat it like it's just a single month thing. But it's like you have to treat it like it's an ongoing thing. You have to make sure that the rewards are something that you can deliver each month. I see so many people on there. They're like, I'm going to produce like a DVD. And it's like, awesome. But the way you word that, they can technically sue you if you're not giving them a DVD every single month.
Yeah, actually, I know. I have a friend of mine who donates like $60 a month to like this one guy, and he's actually about to sue him because like he's not getting his rewards like at all.
Awesome.
He got his rewards like once, but like ever since then he hasn't got shit. Even though the fact that clearly on his Patreon it says you'll get this monthly, you'll get a sketch from me monthly. So, like, I'm actually blown away that there haven't been, like, any lawsuits for Patreon.
I mean, the problem is that
yet.
it goes both directions. Like, there'll be that, but then you look at people who make a lot through Patreon, and most of those payments will bounce, and they won't actually see a lot of that money. So, like, it's just, in general, it's just really not very strictly, I don't want to say police, strictly, what's the word I'm thinking of? God, I'm a writer, I should know this. It's not very strictly maintained, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I mean,
pretty fucking
what's
much
the other
there.
crowdfunding site? GoFundMe. GoFundMe is if you're an e-beggar. Honestly, unless you're in like an emergency situation, GoFundMe is not something you should use.
GoFundMe is the place where you go when like you want to go to Disneyland, but like you don't have any
Yeah,
money.
or like
So you just make like a GoFundMe, or the place if you're like really cringy and you want to go to like
I mean, the
Anthrocon,
thing is,
and you're
it's a
like,
thinly veiled thing that basically all it is making it slightly less embarrassing to ask your family for money, because even they say specifically, it's like, yeah, most of your donations are going to come from people you know, like friends and family. It's like, well, why don't I just go ask them personally? And that's all it is it just gives you like this shield, like, yeah, I'm asking everybody for money, not just you guys, but in reality...
I once saw this famous YouTube, like, he's not famous, but he had like 300,000 subscribers or something like
Popular.
that. And he was like, I need a new laptop. Here's a GoFundMe for a new laptop. And like, it was like $20,000
What
for
the
like a
fuck?
laptop.
Oh, he must have been getting some serious Alienware shit. Jesus.
He didn't even buy an Alienware with it, which is just so funny. He just bought like a typical like HP laptop.
What?
His fans were so stupid that they just blindly accepted it too.
20,000.
It was hilarious.
Even, like, that blows my mind. Even like an Alienware only costs like $2,000, and like that's a lot, but fucking 20,000? I can't even
I know,
imagine
it
a
was hilarious.
desktop that costs 20,000.
It was so stupid. And then it's like, I remember going to comments and I brought it up, and then all of his like fans who were little kids were like, stop trolling the comments, you fucking
Stop
troll.
introducing reality and logic into our lives. We don't want
Stop.
it.
Ugh. I trust him. He says things the way it is. Ugh.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so those are pretty much all the projects we're working on. Any money made from projects this week? None on my end. I haven't made anything from a creative thing. I mean, my day job, that's pretty much all I've gotten money from.
I keep, so it's really shitty with me because I was supposed to make money, and then I just need to manage my time better and just go with things. I need to make some cash really soon though, because like I need to go get on a flight to Indiana next week, and just partially visit someone, partially like research an area where like one of my animations or so is going to be taking place. And it's like, but the thing is, it's like I feel like I was like $600 or something like that, and like I need to just like, oh god. Like, I used to think I could just use my frequent flyer miles.
I mean...
No, it's been too long. They're like, it's been a year and a half. You're 2 days too late to use these things.
Yeah, so it's
I'm
safe
not...
to say no money made from projects this week.
Yeah, so as far as me and finances go, definitely a goal is to make some cash. And I'm not, like, this is going to sound fucking ludicrous, and people in here are listening are going to, like, think I'm crazy insane, but... It's actually not terribly hard to make like a financial plan that gives you like $5 million a week. Like I've seen it done before. To do this though, you just have to like, not just in business or money, but just like really anything in general. You need to like take a step back and you need to just like analyze, like how can I do this? How can I make this happen in this way? In the case of the $5,000 a week thing, it's pretty much what this guy did is he made a product that was like worth $5,000. It wasn't a physical product. It was like an information product, which is kind of the same thing I'm doing. And, he said, okay, so if it's, $5,000, I would only have to sell like 250 of these things to get, just the ridiculous like amount of like millions that I want. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened.
Totally. Like you look at, I think one of the biggest rackets in the world, and I'm totally going to buy into it as soon as I get any kind of following, is webinars. Because it takes...
webinars are definitely...
It takes no effort, it takes no cost, but they still charge hundreds of dollars. And it's like, that's... I don't know why people are buying into that.
Top-tier webinars charge thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah, the like actual industry professionals. It's like, I don't know how the hell people think that that's a good investment, but I'm totally gonna be the person running that shit when I can, because that's where the money's at.
You can always do some like Ty Lopez things and like literally just be all like, my message is to read a book a day, and just like take those exact same messages in the books that you read and like just repurpose them as a webinar.
Nice. So the next thing is any negotiations or dealings ongoing. So if there's any projects that could be happening pretty soon, currently nothing that I'm actually negotiating or getting set up.
Actually, I have one. It's actually kind of fun. So you see, I mentioned the fact that I want to have like animation on my YouTube every day. The thing is the weekends, they're not full animations. Saturdays, because of the fact that I'm just not going to have the resources to be able to do, like full, not just resources, but like time to be able to just make, like 7 days a week of animation. Saturdays are going to be kind of like gaming related on my channel, except instead of it being, like me just hooking up a webcam and like making funny fart jokes as I play like Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm going to be making more like documentary type things.
Oh, yes.
About me trying to become like the best at, a game or something like this. And this is stressful because this gives me like 3 months to get like as good as I can possibly get at a project. So in 2 weeks, I have my first Smash Brothers tournament. And I'm not exactly sure who's going to be there, but I've been told that like some of the best players in the world are going to be at this tournament.
Oh, boy.
And if I don't get my shit in order, I'm going to get my ass kicked. Like big time kicked. And, oh, God, that will not be a very good first impression. Although, in my case, because, like, I want to, like, have the story that be,
you gotta like, make that arc. You gotta have that...
Zero to, like, genius.
Zero to Jiro.
Zero
like
to
the
Jiro.
Sushi Man.
There we go. I don't know, genius. Yes, Zero to Jiro, and I will then turn into, like, an old person playing Smash Brothers.
I put all of the pressure
the young
into
people as I do it.
Specific press of the A. It's such artistry. I'm sorry.
All of the buttons.
Jiro Dreams of Sushi was a goofy movie to me because it's like he's one of those chefs who's like super full of himself and he's like, it's very specific and you gotta hit this much pressure and it's this and that and it has to be a specific quality and it's like, it's sushi, it's street food, come on. This is like saying like, my ramen has the perfect amount of flour in the noodles.
Well,
it's like...
I agree with you, but at the same time, I disagree with you because, like, like art is all subjective.
Fair.
First of all, and beauty is in the eye of its beholder. Yeah. One of my favorite companies is actually Apple. I'm more of a Windows user, but like the amount of detail and design and shit that like Apple puts into just their products and stuff, it stuns me. It fucking stuns me. Like, we're talking about, the fact that, like, what Steve Jobs used to do when he was still alive is he'd go into the Apple Design Lab and, he'd pick up, like an iPhone prototype. He'd be all like, this is shit. Throw it on the ground. This one sucks. This one's terrible. This one, and people would be all like, why is this terrible? He's like, what does this design say about it? And, you'd look at it and you'd be all like, it's just a phone. What's the thing here? No, to him, design would always have to just find some way to, like, entrance the users and do this. Like, even Apple's boxes have design to them. Apple even, like, patents the sound of, just, like, a click going into, their thing because they care that much. In fact,
I remember being so hyped for the iPhone. I didn't even have a cell phone at the time. I didn't have anybody I wanted to call, but when the original iPhone commercial came out, I was super hyped to have one.
Exactly. And, like, to talk about, just, I guess, to show one more example of how crazy they are, I mentioned boxes and stuff like that. Apple is insanely picky with their boxes. Like, you'd assume a box, like, okay, you just put the stuff in it.
You usually throw it away immediately.
With Apple, they're trying to make, like, an actual, like, experience as you open it. They want you to, like, open it up and then just have this phone like tucked in the center there and just
bloom like a flower of joy,
excitement and stuff like that. And then you're supposed to turn it on and then you see like the Apple logo just flash, which for its time was like completely unheard of in like cell phones and stuff like that.
That's pretty ubiquitous now, but that's like
so much design.
That was not a normal thing before smartphones became.
So I mean, like, the thing is, when you go to Jiro's sushi place, like, you're not going there for just cheap street food to, like, just eat some random crap. No, you're going there for the experience.
That's true. There's provides. A lot of, like, a lot of pageantry almost about it.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, it is fruity. I mean, but the thing is like, he's not selling just sushi. He's selling, like, an experience there.
Oh, totally.
That's what he's selling.
So,
That's what he's selling.
Moving on to our plans, and we kind of talked about it just now with our future projects. So the negotiations, dealings of future projects, it kind of goes hand in hand. But yeah, you have that you're working on. I have a handful of things that I'm working on outside of Hunter's Moon and the Magic of the Cinema. Nothing's really, most of it's still just like ideas in a notebook. They're not really anything that's fleshed out enough to even really describe yet. So that's...
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Because to be honest with you, my YouTube shows and stuff like that, like I have a couple that are somewhat fleshed out, and then like I read them and I was like, good God, these are terrible. And I only have like pretty much like a month to just get like the character designs and like outlines and stuff done before I have to animate them, or else like I miss the deadline.
Something I'd like to stress when it comes to like planning into the future and all that. Personally, I feel, and this is just my own thing, but get in the habit of taking notes. Because I have since high school, and I got back into it recently. I don't know why I fell out of the habit of this, but just go to like any store that might have notebooks, just like the cheapest dollar notebook, just a little spiral thing that you can keep in your pocket. Have that, have a pen or a pencil, just always have it with you. And the second you get any idea that you're like, that's kind of interesting, write it down. It doesn't matter how stupid it might be. It doesn't matter if you think you can make anything from it. Just write whatever down so that you can go back and read and you can be like, oh yeah, I remember this. Hey, you know what? I was thinking about this other thing. I could combine these and actually make something from it.
No, you are right, and that is a habit I need to do.
Oh,
I mean, like I've had a bit of that habit recently, where like except in my case, I'll draw something, not like really well, like really good drawing that takes time. Just quickly jot something down, I'll finish it later. But like I really need to get in the habit of just writing down ideas, because I hear really cool ideas all the flipping time, and then what happens is
keep a pencil and the notebook on you at all times. There's never a time where I'm more than like 5 feet away from my notebook, and if I think of anything, just write it down. Most of it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's like exactly. And if you don't do that, though, what happens is like you forget the idea, and then it's as if like you never had it.
I'll give you an example here. Let's see. Let me look. Most of this is lyrics, because a lot of my writing is lyricism. I'm trying to get back into music. It's not easy, and I've had stuff. But yeah, let's look. First page, Rubber Bone Superhero. It's a superhero whose bones are rubber, but they're solid. But then involuntarily, if he takes an impact of any kind, his bones will gellify enough to absorb the impact. So like if you just hit him, then his bones will just kind of soften a little bit so that he doesn't really feel it. If he falls off a building, he's just going to turn into goo as soon as he hits the pavement and then just reform. I don't know if I'm ever going to use that, but I came up with the idea.
So it's like reverse silly putty.
Basically, yeah. I don't know.
That is like the weirdest idea, but at the same time, that is like one of the most creative ideas I've heard in a long ass time.
That's what I'm saying, is everybody has ideas like this all the time. It's just nobody writes them down. That's all you have to do, is you write them down, and then you get in the habit of it, and your brain becomes more creative, because it has like this thought of like, I have this thing in my pocket with all these ideas. It makes you think of more things and go a little more in depth. I can't stress it enough. It's probably the thing that helps my creativity more than anything. And like, I'm probably never going to use that superhero in anything, or I might, I don't know, but I have it there and I can look back at it and maybe I'll come up with something for it, or maybe not, but now it exists. It's not just a thought that disappeared months ago.
Yeah. And that's a really cool idea. Like, well, I say it's cool. Like maybe, cause like now I'm thinking of it, like how the fuck do you like write something like that without it being like comedy?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like it may not be the most solid idea, but it's an idea and it's not gone forever now, and that's the main thing.
I would, you know what? I will pay you $100 if you manage to write a good script about that and have it be like a romantic adventure.
Done and done. I'll write up a comic
type story. It has to be good though. It can't be.
Hold on,
shit.
Let me write that in my notebook so that I can remember.
And make it serious.
Okay.
Serious. I want to read like a serious romance story involving
romance drama. Okay, I'm writing it now. I'm gonna write it after this is done. But we're nearly to the end here.
Yeah, we've been. This was only supposed to be like 30 minutes. It's been like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit a bunch of this out probably just for time, but
just edit the awkward silence and the uhs and oohs.
Basically,
that we
that'll
have
usually cut out a good 10 minutes. If my history and podcast, I believe this is my 4th or 5th podcast that I've put together. So future situations. Mine currently is that I'm going to be moving, possibly to Georgia, maybe staying here in Washington State where I live now. but I'm going to be moving in with a friend, and he already covers his own housing costs. So he has said that if me and my partner move in with him, then we can just focus on creative stuff full time. Maybe a part-time job if things
Yeah.
get stressful, but it's like that's going to be a huge boon to my creativity, because basically I'm just going to get myself up and be like, okay, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to start working on creative stuff. 5 o'clock, I'm done for the day. Just force myself to a 9 to 5, and I'm just going to do stuff, because that's the biggest thing that's holding me back right now, is just not having time or energy because of my other job and because of busing and all of this stuff to actually get stuff done. But like with this, I'm just going to have it all set up, and I'll just
Oh yeah.
be hammering at it all the time, and most of it's probably not going to come to anything, but if I do it often enough, like, that's the big thing about the internet right now, is that they don't really value quality, or even, like, everybody says content is king. Consistency and quantity are king. You need to be able to put out a lot of stuff as often as possible, and eventually
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
will catch.
Now, like, the thing is, though, is like once you have like consistency and stuff like that, you do need to like up the ante and do some quality work. Otherwise, like, people who also have consistent work but are more quality are going to like destroy you.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing,
But,
is like people who just do quality and consistency and have no actual like substance to their work, they're going to be a flash in the pan, and they'll be successful for a while for certain, but
Yeah,
you have
pretty
to
much.
actually be able
For a
to
while
you have
until
to have
someone-
something coming out of it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think I talked about future work on my end, but like outside of the fact that, you know, like I'm going to be, you know, making some like ebooks and like seminars and stuff and then selling them, you know, I have to practice like crazy in Smash Brothers. I have to hopefully travel next week. No, I'm going to, you know what? Like, if I don't travel and I record this podcast again Saturday, like, I'm just going to open up straight up and say I failed. So,
That's the thing,
there's
is
that.
we're going to be admitting to our failures on here. Like, if we fuck up and do something wrong, or we don't accomplish something when we're supposed to, we just got to admit it to ourselves, and to
yeah, we're just gonna openly say,
because
we
more
fucked
than
up.
anything, this is just us being able to put it out there, like, hey, this is what we're doing. If we're fucking up, then we're liable for it. Like, if we
Mm-hmm.
mess up, or if we're not doing shit when we should be, it's like, now people know and they can judge us for it, and that's a much better
yeah.
motivator than just like, nobody knows who we are, so why should we care? It's like,
Yeah, exactly. Although I could ramble on, but I'll save that for next episode about, you know, like, oh, who am I? No one cares about who I am, so I'm not going to do anything. But outside of that, you know, I just have like the mad scramble of me trying to get like 5 full animated series things going, also including weekend stuff, which is going to be really fun. So I will have some excuse me, burped a little bit. I'll have some positive news next week, and I think that's it.
okay, that's pretty much it for that. To go into a little bit of meta, future plans for the show. We're planning on doing this weekly. I mean, we're gonna definitely record it every week and put at least something out. Like, it's probably definitely gonna be a lot shorter than this, and it might be more bare bones. Some weeks, you know, maybe only one of us will be able to do it, or one of us will have to just record something and send it in to be edited in. Like, if you're doing something and all you can do is be like, this is what I'm doing, whatever, send me like 5 minutes and I'll edit it in to whatever I'm saying with it. But
Okay. Fair
for
enough.
the most part, we're going to keep it to weekly. This is going to be, you know, we have to keep it going, because this is our liability. This is us showing the world, like, we're doing something. We're going to make it. It's happening.
Yep.
We're planning on maybe having guests at some point. We know at least, like, one of your friends is probably going to be on at some point. Hopefully other people who are creatives, who are
Yes.
trying to get themselves out there. Like, the whole point of this, it's called Our Road to Success, because this is what is a success to us.
Yeah, if you're a struggling artist and, like, you know, you think, like, no. If you know you're going to make it in the future and you just want to, like, come on here and, like, vent about, like, how hard it is, like, get in contact
Oh yeah, totally.
with us and we will
If you
totally...
can email us at ourroadtosuccessshow@gmail.com, which I have not set up yet, but I doubt it's taken, so I will be getting that set up. If you can email us and be like, hey, I'm a creative, I'm doing this and that, we'll let you on. Like, we'll let you on for at least an episode to say, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, you know, this is what my life is like. Keep in mind, we will keep you to the same stuff as us, so we will be discussing numbers with everybody. We'll be discussing all projects, failures, all of that. So you're going to be, if you want to come on here, you're going to be airing out pretty much everything. So as long as you're okay with that,
Every terrible thing about your life.
absolutely. There's not we will get it deep down into it. The stuff you regret, the stuff that you maybe don't even want to talk about. Be prepared to talk about it if you're wanting to be on here.
Oh, trust me. Later episodes, you're gonna hear some like really screwed up things like I've done.
Oh,
in the past,
same
so.
here. There's some. I'm even thinking about it.
This is gonna be
But
fun.
seeing as
So-
we're almost to the hour and a half point, let's end it here. That's it for this week on our road to success. Remember that everyone has their own road. We know you'll find yours. Happy trails.
Yep. See you guys.